Hey there, it's Sandy. I'm back at the Babylock Solaris and I'm working on some machine embroidery edge-to-edge quilting today. I'm using the feature under embroidery. I thought I'd just get started versus talking a lot in the beginning. I can always share with you what I want to share as we go. So I'm going to press this Q after going into embroidery and option 4, which is where machine edge-to-edge quilting is. I've used many of these 10 designs that are in there. I wish they'd come out with more. But I'm going to press 4 for the snowflakes and press set. Now I'm going to press my dimensions, 36 across and press set. 44 down and press set. I've looked at these flip options and right now this is like the same pattern repeating, but I kind of liked this one where it flips it. So it's between that one and that one. So that's like, this is all, I noticed the biggest difference here. It's like flipping this. So I'm going to go ahead and let it flip and press OK. And then I got everything else plugged in. I got my hoop there, 10 5/8 by 16. So I press next, showing me to confirm these measurements: 44 length, 36 width, 12 pieces, segments, hoopings, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to change the color of the thread this time. I'm going to see what happens when I pick a darker color, because I picked lighter ones like the gray and I can't see it. But I might have a problem with the darker too, because the light works in the darker areas and the dark colors work in the lighter areas. So you know what, maybe I'll even pick a different color, like maybe a medium blue or something like that. There, now you can see that color on the screen. I'll press OK. Just verifying everything looks good still, and I press memory. It stores it into the machine's memory, asks me if I want to embroider. I press OK. So there it is. The first icon is the 12 segments. And when I press that icon, the first icon here is the 12 segments of machine assisted edge-to-edge quilting. These other ones are if you want to do it on your own without the guidance, which you could get to that at some point if you get really good at this without having to watch the instructions. With me, I'm going to press that first one and have the machine guide me, because I don't do this often enough to remember exactly how to do it yet. But I can imagine myself getting to the beyond this and into like going into these other areas, which I think I will do at some point. Pressing set, and it brings up the machine guided instructions. Half of these instructions are just guidance and instructing you along the way. Some of them like lead you to the screens, the action screens, but there's nothing really to do on those screens. Like this screen is where it's telling you to begin sewing from the upper left corner of the fabric. Attach the embroidery frame in the initial sewing position. So you want to leave enough room here and at the top to hoop it, so that when you line up your stitching, it can go inside. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then you might have a lot of open area that's not embroidered on the inside. So what I've done, I've already done that over here. You can see I've already done that. Here's the batting, and it's sandwiched between the top and the back fabric. Here's the back, here's the top. And so I'm going to press OK on this screen. And now it brings me to another information screen where I can use the move pattern keys to align that upper left corner, this corner of the pattern area, with the upper left corner marking of the area to be embroidered. To me, that just means make sure that it's in that upper left corner, and you can use the keys that are coming up on the next screen to move things around. Press OK. It moves it over to that area, as you can see. Let's see if I can get just to see both. All right. So now it shows where it's going to start. And do I want it to start way over here? You can see that the crosshair is off. So I want to use these icons to move the frame around to get it lined up in the start point. And these are the buttons or the keys that I use to move the whole frame around. Like if I wanted to line up, it moves in these move keys move in very small increments. These move like a half a frame every time you press it in either direction. So this is when I use these when I want to line up for like alignment, to see if it's level and this is where I use the keys to line up the start point. It's going to press that button, and you saw which button or key I was using, so I can show you that over here there's a crosshair off the edge, and I got to get that onto the hoop, and then I want to move it down because I don't want it to embroider right on the edge. So now that to me is perfect because the crosshair is right here. And so when I do this, I like to make sure that I'm just down from the top enough, about the same as I am from the side. I don't like to get too close to the edge because even though this looks nice and flat, there's always a chance this foot could go off and catch. But so since I'm right inside and I can actually see those markings, the markings, the starting point, they're in red. I think I could change that to green, but right now I don't want to do that. But you can see maybe, let's see if I can get you in there. The star is in the blue color that I picked, and that's much easier to see on actually the dark and the light. I can see it. So that's definitely something I learned. So now that I've got it inside the edge, I want to make sure that it's not going to go off the edge. So I'm using these move keys at the bottom to just check the alignment along the edge. So it is kind of going in a little bit. So let's go to the top. Now there's two ways to do it. You can actually jiggle your fabric and get it to move over, or you can use the align keys. So I'm going to go to the middle, jumping to the middle, and here's how it's angling up. So I know that I can use that angle key that's coming up to move the design down, the design that's going to stitch out in the hoop. So let me get you back. Okay, so now I'll press OK because I liked my starting point and how I marked that. Now it's going to tell me to use those rotate keys. This is just an information screen. There's no action on this screen. It's just giving you information and making sure that you remember to keep your eye on the points around the pattern. In other words, when you use the rotate keys, don't rotate it too much and have it shift way off. You want to keep your eye on the ball, on the whole picture. I press OK, and there you see there's the angle keys. I can move things by 10% up or down. I'll use this. 1% up or down, 0.1% up or down. At some point, we might use these icons to shorten the design widthwise or to lengthen it widthwise. And here we can use it to shorten lengthwise, or let's see, lengthen lengthwise, if that makes sense. And again, there's these move keys that will allow me to move a half frame across the top, down the sides, or across the bottom, just to make sure things are aligned. So I guess I could have waited to use those keys on the previous key screen, but they're there, so I used them. So I'm going to go over here and try to adjust the angle now. All right, I only pushed the angle 1% one time. So I'm going to go do those half screen movements to just check and see how it looks across the top. Is it still, and then it helps my eye if I do, I think I almost moved it a little. Okay, so now I'm going to go across the top, talking to myself there, sorry. And then I go down the side, half a segment or frame, and keeping my eye on the cross and watching the edge of the fabric. And I could see, I think it's pretty close. So I'm going to press OK. We're ready to stitch. How exciting. And so we're at the screen where I can just say OK. And it looks like I might have to trim one little thread. I gotta look for my trimmer. So, as you can see, it's stitching out the snowflake design. I like to use this is my purple thing to, if I have to smooth something out, but it looks pretty smooth. I think if I can get you over there, I will more. So this is the snowflake design, and it's really, really cute. So I will tell you that I have it in the magnetic hoop by Designs and Machine Embroidery of it called Dime, and I have the backing sandwiched between some batting and the top panel. I'm using the Babylock Solaris. It's a 3, and so it's got all the functions as a Babylock Vision. Only it's, you know, was a Solaris 2 that was upgraded to the 3, but it's just all the same things. I've been having so much fun using it. And one thing I thought I'd mention is that the way that I lined things up, I could see when the projector shined things down that I shouldn't go off this far edge and have the foot get caught. So I think everything should stitch out fine. The machine itself, I think did I say this because I've done this video 3 times now, and now I'm just going for it because I'm running out of time. I got it at the Sewing Source in Lake Villa, Illinois. The machine, the hoop, the fabric, the batting. It's a small store, small business in Lake Villa, Illinois. So if you're in the area and you want to help a small business, check them out. I usually put a link to their website in the description of my videos. So check them out. I'm going to get my little dots out. These little dots just help my eyes, since they're getting older, to keep my eye on the point where the stitching ends, because that is key to lining up this edge-to-edge quilting. You have to mark in your own way where the stitching ends, and then when you move the fabric across, you line up that point to the point where the new stitching for the next frame will begin. Whoa, I got it out without messing it up. So I'm marking it with my little red dot. So that was the end point that I marked over here with the yellow dot. And this is the mark that it makes when it's helping me to line up the next row. So it's thinking ahead. Now over here, it's asking me, telling me the embroidery is finished. Do I want to connect to the next pattern? And of course I want to keep going. So I press OK. And the frame will move when I press OK. So it moves to the center, but on the screen you can see it's just telling me to rehoop the fabric. It's going to be a verbal dump of saying rehoop the fabric to the right side while including the right edge of the pattern on the left in the hoop. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. That's what I think that sounds like to me. It just means when you move it across, keep your eye on this mark. This is the end point of that previous frame, because you want to move it across level so that when you actually, well, I'll show you. I'm going to move the hoop up. And keeping my hand here, I'm just going to move I usually take my hand on this dot and move it across somehow so that it's level. And I got to keep it about the same width, because what I've learned is that if you move it too much, you might have to rehoop. If you move it too little, you might have to rehoop. Hopefully the way I've moved it is good enough, because as you might know, there's only a certain amount of room in the frame. If you don't rehoop it far enough over, you might not be able to use those move pattern keys enough to move it to the right starting point. So while I'm doing this, I'm squeezing the edges to make sure that top and bottom frames are lined up so I don't stitch on those and break my embroidery foot. I'm checking to make sure it's lined across. If I can get things level, I'm checking for lines, level lines in any way on the pattern. Okay, so I think I've got it rehooped. I'm going to press OK. Let's see if I can get you back again so that you can see both. Okay. Pressing OK. Now it's just telling me to move the pattern keys to align the start point with the end point. So we already know that. We can use the pattern keys to line up the end point. So it moves it over. And my crosshair is right here. And you can see the yellow dots there. So I'm going to take that off now. And I'm going to use these keys, or these icons, to move it to the right starting point in small increments. So now that you know the icons I'm using, I'll move you back over here so you can watch. And I'm going to move it over to this point. So I'm moving it over here. And I'm moving it down. And I actually like to try and stitch over the top of the last stitch because that kind of locks in that last stitch. So that looks good to me. I am going to press OK. Now it's just telling me I can use those angle keys on the next screen. So I'm going to press OK on that. I don't have to do anything there. So now I am looking across the top of the quilt and I'm going to use these half frame keys to move it. And you see as I move it across, it's angling down. You know, so I know that when I go across, I have to make an adjustment with the angle. See how it's going up? So I'm going to use that 1% down there, and it moved. So now if I go across now, it's better, but it's still kind of off. So I might try one more time. All right, so now let's go across one last time. And now I'm going to go down to make sure I didn't like overstitch. I'm not overstitch, like overdo it. And I'm going to press OK. And it should connect the next pattern with the last one. Yep, and it lined right up. So we'll stitch out this frame. It's only a 3-minute stitch out. So far, each one of the edge-to-edge quilting designs that I've used has only been a 3-minute stitch out per frame. So I find that interesting. And I think I've done this. This is either my 4th or 5th time using this design for using a design for edge-to-edge quilting. So we'll see how this goes, if I can get it across the top row, given the time I have left to sew. Oh, that rhymes. This edge-to-edge quilting has been fun. I guess I didn't pull it tight enough when I pulled it across, but those are the things you learn as you go, and if you're not in a hurry, you'll probably do better than me. But that's where this little tool comes in handy. So I had lots of projects to do before today. Having to get ready for my granddaughter's birthday party and getting some gifts ready for various people. Before that, we had a birthday party milestone and had gifts and fun things to prepare for that. I was working on the sea turtle quilt, the panel quilt. I think there's an edge-to-edge video about that out there. What else? I didn't, I had committed to helping, then I committed to helping my nephew with a fundraiser. Not a fundraiser, it's just a charity event for a local, some local charity in Rochelle out by him. He does quilting, and he was trying to get people to help him with his event. So I thought I could get some really cute panel quilts and quilt those and put some binding on the edge and donate those to him. I will see him Wednesday, so that's why I thought a panel quilt would be good, that it would be sweet, and it will be a project that's doable instead of doing a many piece quilt. So I've got this one all ready to finish quilting. I will definitely finish that today. And I'm going to use my little dot again there. And then I've got another one. If I get through this one with the binding and everything, I mean, I know I'll get through this edge-to-edge stuff. I've done 20 rehoopings edge-to-edge in a couple of hours. It goes pretty fast. It's like 3 hours, I think, that it took me to do the 30 rehoopings. Back up, 20 rehoopings. And so now it's telling me on the screen again, embroidery's finished, okay to connect, okay. Then it's telling me, it's going to tell me to rehoop the fabric. So then I want to get this dot over to about here. So that's why I put the frame up to the side, keep my hand on the dot, I move it across, trying to keep things level. And then I put the frame back down and see if I am close. Then I pull the fabric through the hoop, trying to make sure things look level across this way, sideways, and lengthwise. Make sure everything is tight. Squeeze the frame on the top and the sides. And, I might be over a little too far here, but we'll see. I'm just kind of checking the, looks like I might have it angled up a little at the top, so then I'll pull it at the bottom, recheck the frame. And now that should be good. So I press OK after I've rehooped. Now it's just telling me, reminding me the next screen has the align keys. So I press OK. It moves us to this point, and we want to get right over that end point. So I use those small increment move key. See, this is a good example where I have not pulled it through far enough to line up the end key. So I can do two things. I can back up and redo it after I move it, or I could just move it and see if I am closer after moving it. There is another way to do it. There. See how I am now. Just rechecking alignment. Okay. Yeah, I think I pulled it down a little far. Okay, let's see how this is. So here is, let me show you. Here's the end point, and my cross is there. So I'm going to try and move it down. And then over. Okay, and up a little because I like to go over the end stitch. Okay, so I like that. We did it. We're okay. It's not too bad of a problem. I press OK. Now we'll do the reminder for the angle keys coming up on the next screen. Those reminders, instruction screens only. I press OK. It moves me to that next screen where it's got the angle keys. So then I'll be moving using these angle keys after I check using these half segment move keys. You know, moving it around the frame to make sure the angles look right. And right now I don't really need to use these four because I'm not like lengthening or shrinking any aspect of the frame that I'm in. This looks like I got it kind of angled down, but let's see if I can fix it. Okay, so here's this key here. It looks like it's angling up. It won't let me angle down anymore. So then I'm just gonna do a tug on the fabric. And so that might screw up my starting point. But let's see how this looks across. Thought once I had it up, it kind of looked like I had it angled the wrong way, so that doesn't surprise me. I'm using the half mark key here. That might be just right, because when I use the half mark key to check, to use as a double check, to see if when I get to the screen, I've moved things and screwed up my aligning my start point to the end point. Oh, the end point to the start point, I should say. It usually, when I get to the half point on this side of the frame, it will be just below. So that looks okay to me still. And it looks level. I could go across here and see if that looks level. You know, it's hard to tell at this point because I'm in the middle of the fabric, but it looks good to me. So I'll just go across to the middle one more time. And I think we're good enough. So I press OK. And now we are ready to sew. Now, there's still a part of me that thinks, am I good? Am I good enough? And I'm going to line up with that ending point. So I'll say, I'll press the start key and I'll hold it in. Yes, it did. But if it didn't, I could have a different way to go. And I won't go into that. But there's other ways to make corrections if you're way off. Like if you're not too far off, you could just put a mark there and go back and stitch it with the regular part of the sewing machine connected to. I don't like really doing that, but I have done it in the past, but I'm trying to avoid that now. So, but there's a way where if I said, okay, I'm just so close, but I want to restart, remark my starting point. At this point in the game, there's a way to back up the segment, and so that you can start that one segment or frame, piece, they called it in the beginning, this part of the embroidery. You can back it up to that original starting point, which I could probably show you in the next frame. I've done this in other videos. I have a separate video about doing this, how to restart a frame, one frame of stitching. You have to keep track of the frames that you're in. There's 12 rehoopings in this project. I'm hooping 4 across the top. We are in the 3rd rehooping or segment. And so we know that there's 4 across. So after this, I will know that my next hooping is number 4. So just keep that in mind, and I'll try to show you the workaround if you want to redo or restart the instructions for the segment that you're in. I'm wondering if I have the machine speed low. Let's see. No, it's top speed. Okay. I was doing some other stuff, and I wanted to make sure I didn't forget to change it back. So I used what is it called? Oh no, the sticker fell off. Well, I've got it over on this. It's called Deco Bob. And it's like a really cool, like kind of grayish, silverish color. I thought that would look good, and it is looking good on the top. On the back, where it's darker green, it's a little more obvious, but I don't think it looks bad. I still think it looks good. But I usually put whatever color I'm using on the top in the back, in the bobbin. And so, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but maybe you can kind of see. It looks pretty on the back. Can you see that? And it's like, it looks, you can see the color more. And I'll have some threads to trim on the back, like usual. You know, if you're doing a quilt for a contest, I don't know anything about that, but I know they are so meticulous about everything. This would probably never qualify. But it's perfect for me, and I think it would be perfect for whatever young child gets this. Just marking the bottom row again. I figured I have enough time. I'm going to say okay to connect the next pattern. I'm going to use my little white, I'm sorry, oh gosh, I'm in a big hurry, yellow dot to mark the end of the stitching. The next message is telling me to rehoop. So I'm using I want to get it like right about there. And see if I can rehoop this without having to rehoop. And I got my edges trying to hold on to everything. Let's see how this looks. How I did this time. And it looks pretty level as far as my eyeballs go in the corner. So let's see how this goes. Okay, you can see okay, so I'm going to press okay. I already moved it. It's reminding me about using the move keys to align the angles. So I think we're close. Taking the yellow dot off. Here's where we want to be. Here's the crosshairs. So I think we're going to be good. Moving it down. And over. Just barely. Okay. Okay, that's as far as we can go, but it's perfect. So now I'm going to press OK. And now it's telling me this is where you can use the angle keys. It's not telling me this is an information screen, so I'm going to press OK. So this is perfect because we will be able to move in enough. So this is the last frame of this row. We want to make sure it's level across the top and down the side. We want to make sure we get inside the edge. Right now it's right there. Here's the crosshair. I'm going to use those. See how there's no more small increment keys to move at the top anymore. Right now on this screen, we have the angles. So we can use these buttons to move the angles. But to shrink the design in this one corner, this is where we would use this icon to move the design or make the design more narrow. And then if I want, I can use these half segment, icons to move the frame across the top, down the sides, to make sure it all looks level. So we'll go here. I'm going to use that button to move things in. That looks good to me. I'm just inside. And now I'm going to go down the side a half segment. And I'm checking as it goes down. That still looks good. I'll go across, up. Yeah, and so that looks good. I'm mostly like looking to make sure I didn't move it enough to like run into that next design. I'm going to go back down to the middle to see if this ends up being just below, and it's perfect. So I'm going to press OK. So now we should say OK. And it connects the end point to the starting point, and it stitches out, and it should fill in just this small area. I've had other designs where it's like this area is even more in, and it usually will let me shrink it a lot, enough to get it inside the fabric so that it quilts properly in the area where it should be quilting. So, and no one really, it's making the design narrower over by a little bit so that it will fit in this far right frame, and to me it's not even noticeable. Like I said, if I was in some kind of quilting contest, maybe this wouldn't be allowed. I'm not sure how they would do that, but I'm sure they would have more precise measurements across the top. But that's just my guess, since I've never done hand quilting, or I've done some edge quilting without the machine guided process, but not as much, and I want to work on that more in the future. But right now, since I always seem to be in a hurry, I am just doing the edge to edge because I can just get through it quicker. Very, very sweet. So I will, after this design, I will move it down one. I'll get it stitching after I show you how to do that. And then I'll check my time to see if I can do it one more. Otherwise, I might have to end the video then. Just because I'm running out of time. I'm going to go back and mark the 2 new row marks, just so they show up better for when we get to that part. One more minute of stitching on this row, and as you can see, I have not gone off the edge, and my binding will catch in this part, most of it. Now the first one I did, oh, that one was close, but not bad. I guess it was close across the top, that star. I really love this pattern, really cute. Okay, so it'll do that mark and 2 more, I think. This one and then one to the far right. One more moment. Okay, so it's telling me to connect, and I'll say okay. Then it shows me this new screen, how I need to move it to the row. One row is finished. To start a next row, rehoop the fabric to the left edge of the next row. So that's just like the top. Like, get it to the left side, just inside, about. So I'm going to try and see if I can do this. I struggle sometimes with this part, you know, getting the lines marked. Not marked, but in the hoop correctly. I think my logical thought would be that I would have just as much area outside as I did when I started the whole thing, but it doesn't show that. So I could be doing this wrong, but this is what I'm doing, just the same routine, squeezing the edges. I'll press OK. Just telling me to double check the angles using those angle keys. So it moves me to about the right area. Now this is where I should be, but I'm way up. So I could do this. I can do this. Making sure that across the top I am level. Now I need to use those move keys because I have to check to make sure that I line up with this mark. So I'm going to go down to see if I can go that far down. And I don't think I can. It's going to get to the bottom of the frame and give me the knock-knock. So I have to move the fabric a little more. Okay. And you don't want to miss this mark because it might stitch up and stitch over your previous stitching. So I'm going to go across the top, see if I'm level. Here's this mark. And I'm a little bit down, but let's see if will be okay. I press this button to move to the bottom, and I can kind of see I'm okay, but if I had to move it, I'd be okay. I'm pressing OK to go to that next screen where it gives me the angle warning. And this is the screen that's a little bit different. It says I can use those angle keys to move the pattern, but I can also make it wider if I want to get between those 2 marks on the quilt. So there's 2 marks at the top, about right in there, but it's at the top that you can't see. That's just the instructional screen to tell me if I can use the angle keys, I can use the move pattern keys to change the size of the pattern to get it to fit within the segment or the hoop. Pressing OK, and I'm at that screen, and I think since my angle on the left side was not bad, it was just across the top, I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to go down the side, make sure it looks level. That looks really good to me. I don't think I need any angle changes. And because over in this top corner, I am just about there, I think I will be okay. I don't need to shrink the pattern because here, it's right on top of that pattern. So I don't need to make the pattern smaller or larger. So I'm going to press OK. And then I will let this stitch out. I'll be back. I'm going to check my clock. I'm definitely going to have to end this video now, so after it stitches out, I want to thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. At the end of the stitch out, it will again make an ending mark there. That's where the pattern will end. I will put my dot there, and then at the bottom it will make 2 marks for the next row, and then I'll just continue across the way I did in that top row. To continue to stitch across edge to edge. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. If you like what I'm doing, give the video a like, make a comment, and subscribe and share with a friend. Thank you for watching. It's going to end the video right here, but thank you again.